I love the energy and the types of friends that our next guest shares. So it's given me a new input on that. I need to find some new friends in my new state. Let's meet her.
Building spirituality, family, health, and business. This is the Giant Builders with Lois Wyant.
All right, Giant Builders, if you have not yet received my free PDF on 5 home businesses, the link's below, so check it out. Let's meet our speaker. Hi, Giant Builders. Welcome. Today's guest is Shanelle DuBose. Hi, Chanelle. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for being here. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about you and what you do?
All right. Well, I am a former educator. I was in the school system for 17 years in several roles. Love my job, love the work that I did. I absolutely love the students and the impact that I was making in the world until one day I realized that I was miserable with the monotony of the daily routine, with the challenges with giving everything of myself to a school system and not having time for my 3 kids at home. And so at the age of 42, with an 8-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 14-year-old, I decided to uproot my life and to pursue a new dream of having more time freedom, trying to get to financial freedom and having creative freedom. So I created my own business and became a consultant using the same skills that I used in the school system in multiple school systems, which afforded me more time and more energy and more freedom.
Well, okay, so explain that to me, because like you're going from one school system to multiple school systems, but you got more time?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So it seems pretty odd that you would take on more and think that you would get less work, but it's absolutely true. So in my role as in the school system, under one contract, I'm contracted there 190 days out of the year, 7.5 hours each day, 5 days a week. Well, once I monetize my talent, which all of us have skills that we can monetize. For me, it was leadership coaching. I also help teachers with professional development in bringing STEM into their classroom. And so I could go in and do one PD or professional development or teacher training for 3 hours and get paid 10 times more than I would get paid for a whole month in the school system. So I would work multiple contracts in multiple schools, but a contract may be only 4 days, or it may be 6 days, or it may only be 1 day.
Oh, great. So how do you suggest, is there a way for people to like to determine, okay, what is my talent? How can I move this forward to bring more glory to God?
You know what? A lot of us are already doing it anyway. So it's the thing that you're already doing and you're not getting paid for it. That thing that people call, they call you for it. Your phone is ringing when you're out, you're talking to people, you're giving advice, you're making recommendations, you're leading them down a different path. We're already doing it. I was talking to someone yesterday and she said, I help these students edit their papers. She's a college professor. And she said, I don't want them to fail their dissertation. I'm so passionate about this. And so I helped them with the revisions of their papers. And I said, so you're a dissertation coach? And she was like, no, I'm just a professor. But we're doing it anyway for free. We just never asked to be paid for it, although it is a valuable service. And in reality, people are paying other people for it every day. We just won't ask. And a lot of times the reason why we will not ask to be paid is because we don't want people to look at us in a different way. We don't want to be judged. We don't want people to think certain things about us when really that's our own internal view of ourselves. We haven't dealt with some of our insecurities and vulnerabilities to be able to really value ourselves at the level that we should.
Okay, so do you have any suggestions on like, maybe specifically as women, how do we start dreaming bigger and living freer in this process?
Oh, that is a really great question. The one thing that I would say is first, you got to get clear on what you want. So a lot of times we just show up And we do because that's what we're expected to do. Many of us have ended up in these situations that we're in, myself included, because I was told, go to school, get a good job, stay there for 30 years and retire, and then you can live your good life. And I did all of those things, but what they didn't tell me was what to do if once you're 15 years in, you don't want to do that anymore. You're not satisfied or fulfilled anymore. No one had an answer to that. And then if you go and tell someone, especially the people in your family, like, I don't want to do this anymore, or I think that I want to quit my job, it's a look of, are you crazy? Because you have a good, stable job that pays you well. You should be satisfied. How ungrateful of you. So before you go trying to get people to help you to feel empathy for you, figure out what it is that you truly want. And then once you figure out what it is that you want, determine which one of these are values for you. Like, what are the things that you value? So once I figured out what it was that I wanted, I didn't want to have to be at school 5 days a week, 7.5 hours a day. I also had to go on weekends. I also had to prepare and prep on Sunday night. Every educator knows Sunday nights, we're prepping and planning for the next day, getting clothes out. We're in this routine that we can't shake. Like, you're not living a life of freedom. And there are people who are in corporate who also experience the same thing. And so once I made a list of pros and cons, the things that I want, and a lot of times we can't figure out what it is that we want. We know what it is that we don't want. And so I actually had to go down what I don't want. I don't want to have to work 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, which was really in my world, 10 hours a day. I don't want to have to commute an hour back and forth. I don't want to have to take one vacation a year. July 30th through August 10th was my vacation every year for 12 years. No other time. And my life revolved around that vacation. I didn't want that. I didn't want to have to not be able to use the restroom and have to ask for permission to go to the bathroom. I didn't want to have to ask for permission to go to my doctor's appointment. And if the permission was not granted, you need to reschedule your appointment. There is no coverage, there's no relief. So I made a list of all the things that I didn't like about my life. I didn't like missing my kids' games. I didn't like not being able to take them to school and pick them up. And so when I made that list, I then had to determine, can I stay where I'm at and fix these things? And the reality was, a lot of times we'll think, I need to go to a different school, or I need to find a better situation. But in my reality, no school system was going to give me what I wanted on that other side of the list. So once I got clear on what it was I wanted and the lifestyle that I wanted to live, I realized I have to leave this school because I'll never get what I want here. They can't even afford to pay me, or I can't even make the type of salary that I would need to live the life that I want. And so then I came to identify what it was that I valued. I said, I want to always be growing and learning. I was at a point where I was no longer growing. I was at the top of the food chain, and everything was like automation. It was rote. Everybody knew what they needed to do, what they were going to do, what I was going to say, what they would say. The parents knew, I can come in, I can talk to her. It was automatic. There was no additional growth. So I wanted growth, but I also wanted joy. I felt like I wasn't having fun, and I would see other people having fun, even though they worked. And as adults, we sometimes think that you don't get to have fun when you work. It shouldn't be fun. It should be challenging, but it should not be fun. And so I said, I want to have fun. I want to have joy. I want to have pleasure. And how do I get that? And so I made that a value. And then I wanted authenticity. I wanted to be able to be myself. I didn't want to have to speak in a different way, show up in a different way. We know that as educators, we wear certain hairstyles. You got to wear a certain type of makeup. You can't do too much or be too bold. There are certain types of clothes that we wear. Everybody knows the teacher uniform is the 3-button polo or the button-down shirt and a pair of khakis and a pair of clog shoes or some type of comfortable shoes. We can pick a teacher out in a lineup. And that's because we've been conditioned to believe that these are the ways that we have to show up in order to be accepted. And so I wanted to be my authentic self. I wanted to show up the way I am. And I knew that I can serve from my highest level if I could just be myself. So those are the 3 values that I said I wanted in my next phase of life as I move forward. And then the last thing I had to figure out was what's depleting the dream? Like, what is it that's taking away from the dream? What is it that doesn't align with this dream? And how do you move away from that? And so I literally had to get in the room with people who were doing bigger things, because one of the things about people who are hard workers and high achievers, we're willing to work hard, but we're not willing to work with bigger ideas. And so I had to come to terms with the idea that I need to have a bigger idea than the one that I have, which is go to school, get a job and work for 30 years and retire. And hopefully I can live a good life. And so that's how I got to where I am today, because I had to come up with a bigger idea.
Okay, so this is what I think I heard you say. So you decided what you didn't like about where you were and what you wanted to have for your future. So what was the step then from there that made you go into this leadership coaching for teachers? I mean, how did you connect what you wanted to how to get that?
Okay. So the thing that I would recommend for anybody who's trying to figure out how to bridge that gap. So I simply sent a text message out to friends and people that I know, many of them colleagues. And I said, if you had to pay me for something, to do something, what would you pay me to do? What is the skill or talent that I have that you would literally pay me for? And I sent it out, and I had to have a whole conversation with myself, because we don't want to put ourselves out there like that. And so I said, I'm going to send it out, and I'm going to walk away from the phone, and those who respond, respond. Those who don't. And I put a little asterisk at the bottom of the text, and I said, don't worry about hurting my feelings. I'm trying to figure something out, and please give me real ideas, like something that you would really pay me for. And I also added that I will not call you back and ask you to explain. We'll never talk about this again, because a lot of the people will say, oh, I don't want to say it because I don't want her to call and ask. So once I sent it, I stepped away from the phone, and I made a commitment that I would not call them back to ask for any clarification. I got such wonderful things. Like they said, you're really great at bringing community, building community. And they would add little stories in that I had not even thought about. They said, you went into a building that had 3 different schools combined into one, and you helped them to build a culture of their own instead of clinging to the 3 cultures that they were trying to combine in one. Another one said, you're really great at strategizing. Whenever I need to work through something, I can call you to strategize. And then somebody else told me, they said, you're a systems thinker. I would call you in to help me to create my strategic plan. And these were people from all walks of life. These were friends, these were family members, these were colleagues, these were people who I worked with in the past. And I sent it out to about 15 people. And then I began to see a thread. I began to see, and I said, okay, so it looks like they're saying they would hire me if they had a big problem, and I can see the big problem, and I can make it really simple and complex. And that's what helped me to realize I'm really good at taking big ideas and big things and making them super simple for the community to understand and be able to rally around it. And that's exactly what I started doing. I started going into school systems, helping the leader who's trying to implement a new program, a new strategy, some type of new technology, and they have some resistance. And so I go in, I talk to them about it, I hear the big picture, and then I give them ideas and steps of how they can present this in a way where everyone understands it, they understand their role, and they also understand the outcome. So I would definitely say, talk to your people. Your people know you better than you do. And a lot of times we forget all of the amazing things that we've done. When I was getting those messages back, I was like, oh yeah, I did do that. Oh my goodness, that is true. And then I began to just see that thread. It was a pattern that I recognized. And then once I owned it, because you have to own it, then I was able to step into it. But I would not be able to step into it if they haven't given me the evidence to be able to say, I am really good at this.
You have a great group of friends. I mean,
Yeah.
to be like, to not be afraid of the question and to give you that honest input. That's awesome.
And you know what? That's one of the things that I talk about in my upcoming book. I think that anyone who wants to thrive and live an amazing life, they need to have 5 types of people in their life, because we will haphazardly allow people into our life that don't benefit us. And
Yeah.
so we end up pouring into them. And because we're the high achievers, no one pours into us. And that's how we get exhausted and burned out and ready to give up. And we continue to pour from an empty cup. And so I call them my 5 FAB. And it doesn't mean that you only have these 5 people, but I make sure that I have these roles in my life. One is a comforter. I need that person who I can talk to, who's going to provide solace during tough times. Like when I'm having a hard time, I need to be able to talk to you, and I don't need you giving me judgment. I've already judged myself. I've already said all of the worst things that can be said. So I just need a shoulder to lean on. A lot of us think that we have that person in our camp, but we don't. And so they're always a safe space for me. And then I have a confronter, because a lot of times people are always coming to us for answers. We're the ones who are providing all of the information, all of the strategies. So I have to have someone who is going to confront me. Now, a lot of people might think that this sounds negative, but it's not at all. Everyone needs a confronter. They're the ones who give you the hard truths. They are the ones who point out those blind spots, and they hold you to be accountable. They really push you to be better. And so you got to know who your confronter is. And then you got to have a counselor, which is very different from a comforter. A lot of people will confuse a comforter with a counselor. A counselor is a person who offers wisdom and who offers advice. They have walked the path that you're on before you, and they've done it successfully. And so they can give you those insights and those experiences that you need to hear about, and they can guide you through those complex situations. And then the fourth person is a challenger. A challenger is somebody who's constantly pushing you out of your comfort zone. I got to have people to constantly push me out of my comfort zone, because A, I'm an introvert, and B, I'm really into routine. And so I got to have people who are going to encourage me to take risks. They're going to get me to try new things, and they're going to stretch my limits. They believe in my potential more than I do. And we need that person. We can't have a big life and everything is on our shoulders. And that last person, that fifth type of person or relationship is a celebrator. That's the person who's going to celebrate everything with you, the big or the small. I'm not a huge celebrator, and I will do stuff. I will make achievements. I will move forward. And it's like, oh, that's just a part of my day. And my friend Rashida, she'll be like, oh, no, let's stop. No, this is not normal. This is not common. Let us celebrate this. And so this is like your personal cheerleader. They celebrate your achievements, and they remind you of how far you've really come, because we will keep going and going and going. And then we get exhausted because we think we haven't done enough, when really you've done more than most of society will ever do. You just never stop to think about it. And so instead of trying to have one person fill all 5 of those roles, because that's what a lot of us do, we'll think, oh, that's my spouse. Oh, that's my mother. My mother is 3 of those things. My husband is 4 of those things. No, that's exhausting to be all things for you. So I literally go through my phone and I put beside the names what they are for me in my life. And then if they don't have a role in your life, why are you spending significant time with the other people? You still need your family, you still need your friends, you still need your siblings, and some of them may fill these roles, but you also need other people, because as we get older, people will die, people will move, things will happen. And so if you only have 1 or 2 people, how are you supposed to thrive when we know that aging is a process and we want to live good lives even in old age? And so we need these types of people, and you need more than one of them. And they also need to know their role as well. Like I
So,
called my aunt in Arkansas after my mom died. My mom was definitely my confronter. And when she passed, I had no one to confront me on my behavior. And I need confronting on my behavior because we've trained our families not, they know, don't mess with us. And
yeah.
so I called my aunt and I told her, I said, and that's my mom's sister. And I told her, I said, you know, my mom played a huge role in my life, but at this time, I don't have anyone to confront me, to tell me when I'm doing something that doesn't make sense or that's not good for me or something that is toxic or harmful. Would you be that person? I told her, I won't get mad at you when you tell me. I said, so when you hear me go silent, that means that I'm thinking, but I want to know if you will take this role. And she was like, absolutely. It was right up her alley because that's the type of person that she is. But we need these people in our lives. And as people move on, you got to be able to replace those people. But if you haven't developed the relationships or you don't have many people in your life because we've devoted our times to our spouses and our children. Like as women, we devote our entire lives to our spouses and our children. And then the spouse will, divorce is real. They also will pass. We know that men die before the women. And then we're left to try to figure it out after our spouse is gone. And then our kids, they get older, they marry, they leave the home, and they're into their own lives. They don't have time to be on the phone with you. And we try to force them into these roles. We can create this for ourselves.
I love that. That was so wonderful. I'm going to look for these people and assign them. I was going to ask you if they knew what their position was, so that was very helpful to find that out. I think that especially as women, as we're going through all these challenges, if you will, we have a tendency to self-sabotage ourselves. Maybe it's imposter syndrome or something like that. What advice do you have for that area?
You know, and that is a beautiful part about having these 5 types of relationships
Mhm.
in your life, because that's why you need them to thrive, because self-sabotage is real. It
Yeah.
is real. And I think that all of us have an area that we self-sabotage in. The question is, are we aware of it? And
Mm.
so when you have these type of people in your life, they will point it out to you. They will let you know you're playing small. They will let you know you're going back to a previous environment that you were in that no longer served you. Why are you going back to that? Like when I got ready to start my business, I had people to tell me, you don't need a partner. Why are you looking for a partner? That's you playing small. It really was. I was like, I need somebody. I'm English and social studies. If I just had somebody who's math and science, and they had to let me know, no, you need to do this on your own. You don't need other people. You know, we play small and we think that we're not good enough. So even when I sent that text message out, the reason why I was able to get great responses is because I had developed these relationships and put these people into my life, and they were able to feed back into me and identify things for me. And so self-sabotage is real. You got to figure out, is it limiting beliefs? Is it going back into environments? Is it people pleasing? Or are you looking for validation? You got to figure out what is the type of self-sabotage. And it's always patterns. You can always look to see what is the pattern that I engage in. Do I start one idea, get going, and then all of a sudden find a new idea and jump to that, trying to do too many things at a time? And then we say, oh, I'm multi-passionate. Everybody's multi-passionate. Like we all have multiple passions, but you need to focus on one, get it going, and write the other ideas down, and you can still address them later. You know, so you just have to have people around you who can point it out, because most times we don't even know when we're self-sabotaging. We're doing what we're accustomed to doing, trying to stay in our comfort zone and not challenging ourselves.
That's great. Oh dear, I've got a lot of things to think about and to do. I need to find some new friends. Well, any closing thoughts?
Well, I definitely want to say, don't throw out your current friends that you have. And I
Okay.
also think that that's a topic as well, because a lot of people think that it's a friendship because we've grown up thinking Friendships. This is my friend. When these are relationships, and you can even have categories. Like I have my business besties. Those are the people who I talk to about business. I have my high school friend. We've been friends for 45 years. And I talk to her about all types of stuff. I have my sisters who are really good. They're like best friends. We talk every day. We go out, we hang out, we brunch every week. And so, but then you have other people who you have these relationships with. I have a friend, Rashida, who is by trade a counselor, which makes her perfect for the role. But also, would I classify her as a friend? Not necessarily, because when you think about a friend, that's somebody who can divulge deep secrets with. I can confide in them. If I need to borrow money, I would call and borrow money. If I need to go out of town real quick and need somebody to ride with me, my friend will be there for me. But like with my person who serves as my counselor, I would not put all of that on her. So they understand we have this association, we have this relationship. She might be classified as my girl or whatever the term is that you want to use. My business bestie, this is my buddy. I have my brunch ladies who I go to brunch with. And when we go to brunch, we're only talking about how to move forward, how to dream bigger. We have our vacation crew when we talk about what are we going to do? What is the life we want to live? And so think, a lot of people don't like to put people into categories. But maybe we should examine it a little bit deeper, because if you put everybody in the same category, everybody doesn't get the full view of your full life. And so that's also an error that we sometimes make, is that we try to give everybody all access and they don't need all access. Like I don't talk about my marital issues or concerns with my business besties. We talk about business. But with my best friend, oh girl, Jimmy got on my nerves today. That's my husband. So
I have a Jimmy.
oh, look
I understand.
So yeah, I would definitely say, if nothing else, get clear on what you want, understand what it is that you want, and identify what it is that you value. And then think about what's depleting the dream. What is, and be honest about what's truly depleting your dream.
No, that's wonderful. All right. Well, Giant Builders, I will have all of her contacts information below. Feel free to reach out to her. And she and I chatted earlier that she's got a book coming out at the end of the year. So I invited her to come back at the end of the year when her book comes out. So we'll be seeing you again. Okay, Chanelle?
All right. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. It's been awesome.
Thanks, Giant Builders. See you next week.
Thank you for listening. This has been The Giant Builders with Lois Wyant.